All right, now we're live. So my name is Belinda Weaver. My business is Copyright Matters. This is my page, and my copywriting masterclass is open right now. But so far, I've been the only one talking about it. And I don't mean that in a like, boo-hoo, no one's talking about me. But I mean, I'm telling you how good it is. I'm telling you everything you get. I'm telling you that the coaching is awesome. And I thought it might be useful to actually bring on someone else, someone who is doing the course and is going gangbusters with her copywriting business. So she can actually share her experience and set some context. And if you're tuning in live, you can ask Zoe some questions, and that's who I want to talk to. Zoe Heard from Get Heard, and Zoe did my course a few years ago now, but she stayed in touch with the community around the copywriting masterclass. She came to all the coaching calls, and she's been submitting work consistently over the time. But of course, her business has grown. So she's been dipping in and out rather than following a lesson plan, which is awesome. And we're going to talk about that. Zoe has also joined my private mentoring group, Confident Copywriting, which is a kind of nice next step. But that's not what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the copywriting masterclass and how Zoe has found the experience from going from a beginner and signing up the course to having a business that, as I said, is going gangbusters. And one of the reasons I love Zoe is she's so process driven. That's why we get on so well. She sets her mind, she makes a plan, and she gets it done. And I absolutely love that. So if you have any questions, post them to Zoe. I am going to bring Zoe on right now. Let's see if this works. It's a fun experiment. Hi, Zoe. Thanks for joining us. Cool. So Zoe, I just gave you a little wrap up on Facebook, but I wonder if you can introduce yourself, tell everyone who you are, what you do, who you serve, and why people think you're awesome.
Okay, so I'm Zoe Heard, and my business name is Get Heard. I'm a working copywriter. I'm working, yeah, it works for me. I'm a working copywriter, working 3 or 4 days a week because I have a young son who is 3, and I've been in business for 2 years. My favorite type of copywriting client is the ongoing type, because I like that nice comfortable stage where I've got used to a client and I can anticipate exactly what they need, and they want, something similar each month, or each month it gets a bit more challenging, but I really like that kind of comfortable long-term relationship side of working with clients. So,
and I think
mostly small businesses.
I was going to say, one of your superpowers is being able to anticipate what your client might need that they haven't really thought of yet. And it doesn't really, when we talk about it, it doesn't feel like a strong upsell, but that's what you're doing. I think you do it really well.
I really enjoy that phase, because the getting to know you phase with any new client, sometimes it happens really smoothly and sometimes it doesn't. So I work with mostly small businesses. I've got 6 really solid ongoing clients now, and I'm at the point where I'm saying no to lots of new opportunities because I just don't have time, or they're not in my target.
I love that, and that's what we all try and get to.
So that's a good position to be in.
Yeah. So let's go back 2 years. I can't believe it's only been 2 years. But can you set the scene of where you were in your business development when you found the copywriting masterclass?
Sure. Well, I actually found the copywriting masterclass before I had a business. At the time when I found the copywriting masterclass, I had basically nothing more than a fledgling idea and a domain name and a registered business name. I had been on maternity leave from my day job, which was fundraising for a charity. So really a sales and marketing type of job, but the industry happened to be fundraising for a charity. And I'd been on maternity leave. And when I went back to my day job, when my son was about 8 months old, my work said to me, well, if you want to work part-time, here's the job that you can have. And it was an insultingly low grade data entry job. So that wasn't what I wanted. I my brain was still functional and it was dying for some challenges. And so I thought, well, I want to start copywriting. This is what I want to do. I'd done a diploma of digital marketing online, but it was very academic. It was very much about marketing principles and things like that. I wouldn't have been able to run a Google Ads campaign or any kind of actual digital marketing task or project. Yes. It was really, really theoretical. Mm-hmm. But through that, I really realized that the parts that I wanted to do were copywriting. So I found the Hot Copy podcast. So
he's going to come
and then eventually quit. But when they offered me this terrible job, I just bit the bullet and said, I'd rather leave than do that, and took a redundancy. So then I found myself suddenly unemployed with no plan and a little bit of money in the bank, but no plan really, except for I want to make a go of this and see what can happen and create a career and a job for myself that will fit in with my family. So that was February 2017 that happened, and your course opened in, I think, the start of March.
Yes.
And I remember emailing you in about December, when this was before I knew I was going to be leaving my job, saying I'm going to start a business in copywriting, and you replied, and I was surprised. I was genuinely surprised, because I'd been listening to you and I felt like we would get along really well, and but you didn't know who I was. And I was just someone who emailed you and said, I'm thinking about starting a business and I'd like to do your course. And you actually replied. And I was really chuffed with that.
I love that. And, like often I know, in Confident Copywriting, we're talking about how we can streamline our processes and how we got to pick where we most efficiently spend our time. But responding to an email, it can have an impact with someone and start a relationship, just like it did with us. So
it did. And that was just this little thing where you wrote back and you said, that's really exciting that you're starting a business. And you showed support.
Come on in.
Oh, yeah, maybe I can do this. When it was time to make the plunge and say, I'm leaving my job and I'm going to do this, I'm going to set up a business as my whole thing, not just a side hustle, but as my whole thing from now on. And you'd be a supporter because of that one little email. So I signed up for the course.
Nice. So I want to find out what might have stopped you from signing up to the course, because I always ask people, why didn't you say time? So tell me.
Yeah, sure. So, at the beginning, the cost of it was a point that I had to consider, because I was freshly unemployed and I did have a little bit of money from redundancy in the bank, but at that stage I didn't have a business and I didn't have any clients and I didn't have any income from that. It was a bit of a guess, but I knew there was so much that I needed to learn, lots about technical writing skills and lots about running a business. But I knew from listening to probably more than half the back catalogue of Hot Copy podcasts at that point and reading a lot of stuff on your blog that you were going to be able to help me with that. So I was going to sign up to the course and just take the plunge, trusting that what you'd shared already with me for free, through your blog and through the podcast was going to be the thing that I needed to get started.
That's awesome.
There was this moment where I was like, it's a lot of money for where I'm at right now, but I need to invest, because where else am I going to learn how to do this? I could fumble around for 5 years learning this stuff, or I could learn it from you in 6 to 12 months and fast track that time between starting a business and running a business that makes some money.
That's awesome. That is absolutely fantastic. And that is exactly the point. I think I'm very appreciative of the investment of money and the investment of time, because I could have created a smaller course that didn't have all the things, but I find it very difficult to choose do you not learn about calls to action, or do you not learn about headlines, or it's such a good foundation.
Yeah. And when you take something out, it makes it not appeal to certain people, because it's hard to know what your students' goals are going to be when they're, because everyone's copywriting business is a little bit different. So at least if you include everything, your students can take the parts that they find most useful.
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
I mean, that's kind of what I've been doing, because full disclosure, embarrassed confession here, I've been enrolled for 2 years and I still haven't finished. Which I'm so ashamed about.
If you're watching, it's not going to take you 2 years to do. But Zoe,
it doesn't actually take 2 years. It's just me.
Zoe has become so good at it, and her business is so busy now, which is fantastic. But you mentioned that you dip in and out.
Yes, I do. I really dip in and out. And I have actually watched a lot of the videos and learned the stuff about the thing that I want to learn, but just haven't fully gone through the process of completing the exercise and submitting it for your comments and marking. So that way, if something comes up and it's like, oh, someone wants headlines and I'm really stuck, I go back to the headlines one and watch it again and, you know, break out of the rut that I'm in. So that aspect of having access forever makes it so valuable, because, you know, life gets in the way. And if you had have said you've got 6 months and then you're cut off, if that had have been the case, I probably would have punched it out in 6 months to make sure I got the value from that money. But something else would have had to stop in that time. I would have had to not spend as much time looking for clients, or, you know, not spend as much time with my son or something like that. So really the value of, you know, the value of not having a deadline means that, yes, it's taken me 2 years, but that's okay. And if it suddenly becomes a priority to finish it, then I can smash it out. But
I'd like to make the point.
Yeah.
I'd like to make the point to you, which I have made before, is you've done the content, you've done the course, but you have an open loop in your head about what it means for you to technically complete the course.
Yes.
Is an important distinction.
And, you know, get everything signed off and graded and get the certificate. Who knows how long it will take me? Hopefully not too long.
But yeah, it's a double-edged sword, because I'm not there. You know, I remember the transition from high school to university, and at university they said, no one's going to make you do anything. We're not your mums. We're not your, you know, high school teachers. It's up to you. And that's kind of what it's like in the course, where I'm like, well, if you can't get all your stuff together for this, then how can you do it for a client? You know, it's that kind of thing. I'm not going to make you do it. It's there for as long as you like. But I know a lot of us have kids, and a lot of us have growing businesses, and stuff happens. So yeah, I'm the same. I don't want to shortcut the whole process just to have you off my doorstep in a certain amount of time.
Yeah. It's good. And it just means that I can fit it into my life however I need to. And, you know, I have been able to balance growing my business. It's absolutely working. You know, so, you know, you can complete the lessons in any order that you want, and just, you know, flick around and try different bits as they become relevant, because there are bits in the course that I haven't looked at. I can't name them because I haven't looked at them yet, but just listing through them, you know, they just haven't become relevant. So I haven't needed to do it. And the bits that I have done, I go back to quite a lot. Yeah. So
and that's the thing. It's this copywriting Bible, and you've done the course. But so you've talked about how you have quite a few ongoing clients now, which is good. So I want to, even though like 2 years, I can't believe how much, and we're going to be talking about privately, we're going to be talking about how we can master and really make the most of the clients you have, so that you can maximize your income for your time. Because we both have the same challenge, where we're like, well, this is how many child-free hours we have this week. This is how much we're going to do. So I think you've had amazing growth. So can you tell us a little bit more about where your business is now?
Sure. Yeah, sure. So so one of the things that I found the most useful about the course is the mentoring and advice from you. So things like the AMA, Ask Me Anything calls, and the webinars and things like that, where it's not just about the technical side of writing headlines, although that might be something that we talk about if we have a situation come up. It's also about the sticky client situations and terms and conditions problems and just anything about running a business, because your course is not, so the course structure itself is mostly about the technical side of copywriting and learning skills and things like that. But it's all the add-on support, like the Facebook group and the chats that we have where we can just ask you anything. Actually is more about the running of the business than it is about copywriting skills. And, you know, you could be the most skilled copywriter in the world, but if you're rubbish at running a business and managing clients, it's never going to work. So that's that mentoring and coaching side of things, certainly for me, has been the most valuable part, because anytime something's come up that I feel stuck, I can ask you, and it's never more than, I mean, if it's something really urgent, shoot a quick Facebook message. And the other people in the group are chiming in as well, because when I joined, there were people who'd been copywriters for a few years and I was the fresh newbie who was asking the questions. And now 2 years later, I find that I'm able to answer questions for people who are coming into the course, or experienced people who just haven't had that situation before. And do actually know something now. It's been wonderful.
It's a nice feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, so
nice feeling.
Yeah. I mean, I still feel like a newbie. Even 2 years in, I still feel like a newbie. But I've definitely, when I think about it objectively, there's a lot of stuff that I know now that I didn't know. And I'm better at saying no to people, or saying, that's not how this is going to work. This is how we're going to do it. Just that confidence, I guess, in being able to run a business, because not only was I learning to write copy in a way that people would pay for, I also had to learn to run a business. So,
yeah, that's right. Because we're creating an experience, we're creating a relationship, but we've got to back it up with our craft as well. Which is awesome.
Absolutely. So, 2 years in, I'm fully booked for the number of days that I want to work. I'm working 3 days 1 week and 4 days the next, alternating. My son is at daycare those days, because let's face it, anyone who has a toddler knows that there is no work happening when a toddler is in the house. It has to be daycare days. And some advice from you when we did that coaching session in July. For those people watching, I had a very lean month in July, and it scared me a little bit. So I wrote to Belinda and said, I need some help to work out what I'm doing, because things were kind of ticking along okay up until that point, and I had a really quiet month. And I thought, I can't let this go on. I need a plan. And you really helped me lay it out so clearly, what I needed to, we laid out my financial goals, which was to earn a specific amount per month that would essentially replace or replicate my old income if I'd stayed at my old job 3 days a week. That was my kind of my number. And then how I was going to do that, because it felt overwhelming to, how do I get from where I am now to this point? And we broke it down into the steps. So, how many clients does that equal? What's the value of those clients? How many hours a month for each client? What the hourly rate should be? And then it made me really conscious and deliberate about the kind of people that I was approaching, or the kind of people I was saying yes to if they approached me. So that was in July. And by October, I reached that goal, financial goal, for the first time. So it only took, August, September, really like 3 months for me to be very conscious about setting things up in that way. And also the instability of one-time website projects. You work through a project with a client, by the end of the project, you know them pretty well and things are going well, and then the project's over, and they might not be the kind of client who wants ongoing stuff after that. And some of those were not huge value projects, like maybe $1,500 to $2,000 projects at the most, once off, and then they're off and they're living their life with their website, and you have to go and find a new client. So finding some more of those ongoing type clients, articles I could punch out in half a day, and think about my month as a series of half-day slots to fill, was a really great tipping point for me.
And it just, the way we broke that down in terms of having a plan makes you, well, it makes me realize that you can pretty much accomplish anything with a plan. And when you're intentional about saying yes and intentional about saying no and intentional about who you're talking to and the kind of work that you want to do, then boom, it's done.
No more cheapskate clients.
Yes. And it's
if they can't pay the rate that I want to earn, then we either have to change the scope, or I say, you know, I don't think you're ready for this right now, or I'm not the right writer for you.
Yeah.
And that's hard to say no when you're not fully booked. It's really hard. Yeah. It's really hard to say no to that sort of stuff when you're not fully booked, because it's scary and it feels like, well, if I say no to this one, where's the next one going to come from? But it was just kind of like, I don't know, Belinda's business magic or something. It just came along that way. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it was because I was really looking for those sorts of clients and filling those spots. So
yeah, absolutely. It makes me so proud to be part of that whole process. And I love that it started with the copywriting masterclass. I absolutely love that. So I'm just going to quickly check to see if anyone's asked any questions.
Sure.
I will just refresh. And I would love to wrap up, because I love Di Challenor says, hey.
Hi, Di.
Hi. Wrap up with where people can find you and what you're doing, and what's something you want to focus on next. Like, what's in front of mind for what do you want to go to?
Ooh, next. You know, I've just been so focused on achieving the goals that we set in July that I haven't really thought about next. But now at the point where I'm pretty fully booked, and I guess next is maybe putting my rates up again a little bit.
This is what we're going to be talking about. This is what we're going to be
the next thing, because, you know, if I'm fully booked and a couple of those clients might not be my 100% ideal clients, then maybe I put my rates up a little bit, or maybe I transition some clients across to another writer to free up a spot for something that I'm really excited about.
Excellent. I think that's good, because, you know, I've always said if everyone says yes, then it's time to change something. So I was like,
and you know, next as well, and next as well financially, you know, I hit that goal of replacing my old 3-day a week income if I'd stayed at a job that was sucking my soul dry with data entry. And, you know, not a good reason to be away from my child 3 days a week to do a job like that. You know, because I've consistently met that goal for the last few months, the next goal, financial and happiness and balance wise, would be to replace my old full-time income, but on part-time hours.
Yes.
That's a bit of a stretch goal that might happen in the next couple of months.
Well, let's work on that in confident copywriting. That is a brilliant goal. And I love the way that you mentioned the money, but you then followed up with your happiness or your contentment and your balance and your family, because they are equally as important. It's really easy to go, oh, I'm going to have a 6-figure business, but what about being joyful and content and having time with your family and enjoying the balance? So I love that you bundled all those things together, because they're just as important.
Because it would be easy enough for me to work full time and fill up that extra time with work to earn a bit more money. But really the ultimate goal is to work the same number of days that part-time and keep, you know, spending time with my son while he's little and before he starts school. That's a real benefit to starting a business outside of going back to, you know, working for the man in a company, you know, in my old job kind of thing. Because you can earn full-time money working full-time hours, but if you can earn full-time money working part-time hours, that's really an amazing sweet spot for life balance.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's the next thing, I guess.
You know, for me, I was like, oh yeah, I could add childcare all over the place. And we're not talking about judging whether childcare is right or wrong, but for myself, I end up going, am I just working to pay childcare now? You know, and that's not right. a copywriter. So it's all a really important conversation to have about what income you want and what kind of balance you want and what else your life needs to have some boxes that are ticked.
Yeah. And in the first financial year, after I paid childcare, I didn't really earn that much money. So, you know, that first year was sort of like, okay, I'll give it a year and see what happens. And, you know, after paying for childcare, you know, you also earn some money, but it didn't seem like a lot. But in that first year, I mean, I'm very lucky in that, you know, my husband is full-time employed and so on, and we've got things sorted. So we were able to indulge my business goals because we're thinking about the long term. So this was, you know, my income took a drop in that first year, obviously, setting up the business and working out what the hell I was doing. But sort of the 5-year goal is that I'll be running, I haven't even spoken these words out loud really to anyone except for my husband, but, you know, to be running a successful business that earns, you know, works school hours and earns way more than I was at my old job.
Yes.
You know, commanding quite high copywriter rates. Like, you know, experienced copywriters with 5 years experience are charging over $150 an hour.
Yep.
I'd love to get to that kind of point and work the same number of hours as I am now, spread over school hours, and charging that kind of money for the value that I can provide. At this point, I don't feel like I can charge that, but in a couple of years, definitely.
Awesome. I love this. I'm so excited. We're going to finish this and I'm going to write down heaps of notes and we're going to talk.
Are you going to put my accountability notes in writing?
Because one of the things about confident copywriting is accountability. And we've already proven that when you make a plan, it happens.
That's right. But that's the long term. That's not the next sort of 12 months. So,
yeah,
but baby steps.
Baby steps. Cool. We'll all started with Copywriting Masterclass. That's what I wanted to get you on. I really appreciate you sharing your experience as someone who started off as a beginner and has really, really made it happen for yourself. I think you're a real inspiration. So
thank you. Maybe I should also add to my long-term goals, finish the course and get that certificate.
I've got it in my drawer. Your name's on it. Ready to go. So tell everyone where they can find you. You're Zoe Heard at Get Heard. But
yes, so my Facebook page, which is very sadly neglected at the moment, is Get Heard. I think I'm Get Heard Copy on Facebook, and my website is getheard.com.au.
And
but yeah, if anyone has any questions, welcome to ask on on Belinda's Facebook, on the comments of the post, and I'll answer them over the next couple of days. Or you can email me, zoe@getheard.com.au with your questions. Happy to answer.
All right. That is so generous because I know how busy you are. And so if anyone has any questions about the course for Zoe or me, let me know in the comments. We talked a lot about confident copywriting. I'll drop a link, but that's something that you may or may not be interested in watching. Cool. Well, thank you very much, Zoe. I'm going to let you get back to your next calendar block for today. Squeeze it in the afternoon. Enjoy your evening, and thanks again.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone. Thanks very much for watching.